Hi friends, it's Mrs. St. John here, and I'm really excited that you've joined me for day 2 of our read alouds. Yesterday we read this awesome story, Keller's Heart, and we learned about a little girl named Raven who learns a really big lesson from her dog Keller. And it's a love story, and it shows how they help each other show the world that being different is a good thing, and it's about overcoming your differences. Now, I was thinking yesterday about the name Keller. Do you guys remember why Raven named her dog Keller? I'm going to go back into the book and see if I can find that part. Here on page 23, it says, Raven had recently read a book about an amazing woman named Helen Keller who was deaf and blind. So she called the puppy Keller. So I was thinking, I don't really know a lot about Helen Keller. I really want to read about this woman, this amazing woman. So today I want to read you this book here. It is a narrative nonfiction book, and it's called I Am Helen Keller. And it's all about the woman named Helen Keller who influenced Raven to name her special friend Keller. Now, before we read, I want to just go over a couple of things with you, okay? Remember, when we're reading narrative nonfiction, we want to do a couple of things as readers. The first thing we want to do is preview the text to figure out what it might be about. And then we can make a decision on how to read it. And then we're going to be in reading, putting the parts together, asking ourselves, what is important in this text? What am I learning so far? And how do these parts match each other? Okay? So we're going to do this hard work together. So the first thing we're going to do is just preview the text and figure out what it might be about and how to read it. It's pretty straightforward. I am Helen Keller. So I see a picture of a girl in a field. She looks very happy, very grateful. And I think this is Helen Keller. Let's preview the back cover and see if we can get some more information. I am Helen Keller. I won't let anything stop me. And I see the same girl from the front cover. Seems that she's very determined. She doesn't want to let anything stop her. Let's read. When Helen Keller was very young, she got a disease that forever destroyed her ability to see and hear. That's very much like our friend Keller, the dog from this book. He was deaf and blind. Let's keep reading. But Helen wasn't a quitter. And with the help of a wonderful patient teacher named Anne Sullivan, she learned how to communicate, at first through hand gestures and then through speech. She also learned how to read, thanks to an amazing invention called Braille. Helen was the first deaf and blind person to graduate from college, and she spent the rest of her life helping others and making her voice heard. So now I know what to expect from this book. I know we're going to read about the life of Helen Keller, her life with her teacher, how she learned how to read Braille, and how she influenced others. So let's begin reading. Here is the title page, I Am Helen Keller. And look, it has the same woman from the front cover and the back cover, but she's sitting in front of a water fountain, and she's touching water with her hand. I bet this is going to be important as we keep reading this story. This book is by Brad Meltzer, and it's illustrated by Christopher Elopoulos. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these names, but as we talked in class, it doesn't matter if I mispronounce these names. What matters is that I know that they're names, and that I know that an author writes a book and that an illustrator draws the pictures in the book. Okay, let's keep reading. I am Helen Keller. When I was little, I was just like you. I loved to play, I loved my dog, and I loved seeing all the bright, beautiful flowers. I also loved copying people. At 6 months old, I could already say, "Howdy ye." "Howdy ye yourself. Tea, tea, tea." Did she just ask for tea? How'd she do that? What can I say? There's no stopping her. She seems really smart. On the day I turned 1, I started walking. Oh, and there was another word I always loved. Wah wah. Here's your water. Just like any other kid, right? But there's one thing that made me different. When I was 19 months old, I got very sick. The doctor said I wouldn't live. I did live, but the sickness made me blind and deaf. We're starting to see the problem of the story. This is how I see the world. Close your eyes and block your ears. I couldn't see anything or hear anything. That's right, nothing. I know it seems scary. It was scary for me too. Back then, people didn't know how to deal with someone who was deaf and blind. My relatives thought I was a monster. You see the way she behaves? She put her hand in my plate and ate my food. Wah, 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 wah. She's trying to find her water. She threw the silverware too. She's so poorly behaved she shouldn't be here. They were right. I wasn't well behaved. I was extremely frustrated. In my dark world, I couldn't tell if anyone noticed me or cared about me. I couldn't see or hear what I was doing. Let's pause for one moment. I'm going to ask you a question. Who is the narrator of this story? Who's telling the story? I keep seeing this word, I. My. I know that the narrator of this story, the person telling this story, is Helen Keller herself. She's telling you her account of what life was like for her. I know that because it says I. So the person who wrote this story, the narrator, is speaking from the first person point of view, themselves, right? Okay, let's keep reading. I'm over here. But by the time I was 5, I'd figured out small ways to communicate. To say yes, I nodded my head. Or no, I shook it from side to side. To say father, I motioned to put on his glasses. For my mother, I rested my hand on my face. For my baby sister, I did this. And when I'd shiver like I was cold, it really meant, brrr, Helen wants ice cream. The important things in life. But even with those signs, I couldn't get my dog Belle to play with me. I didn't know how to speak, so I couldn't call her. I just wanted to play with my dog. The saddest part was I got used to a dark and silent world. How do you think Helen feels? Do you think that she's happy? Do you think that she's sad? How does she feel here? I think she's sad. I think it would be pretty scary to live in a dark, silent world. Let's keep reading and see if there is a solution to this problem. People told my parents to give up on me, that I'd never be good at anything. They didn't listen, though. After reading about another blind and deaf girl, my parents found something they hadn't had since I'd gotten sick. Hope. Just want to pause for a second. Okay? I'll show you this card. Hope. A good feeling about the future. So the parents heard about a blind and deaf child, and they got hope. Let's read to find out more about this hope. This says there are places that teach deaf and blind children. That's what she needs. She needs a teacher. We all do. Everyone needs a teacher. Still, I had no idea what the world was about to bring me. Make a prediction right now. What do you think is going to happen? What is the world about to bring her? Let's read on to find out if we're right about our prediction or if we get a big surprise. I never had a more important day. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I was 6 years old. From the way my mother was hurrying, I knew something big was coming. I stood on the porch waiting, feeling the sun on my face. Someone approached. I could feel footsteps. I reached out thinking it was my mother. She pulled me into her arms. Her name was Anne Sullivan. She's the teacher who changed my life. So now we're meeting a new character, Anne Sullivan. It is her teacher, and it changed her life. Let's read to find out. Was your prediction correct? Did you get a big surprise? Or do you need to keep reading to find out more? Let's keep reading. In one of her first lessons, she gave me a toy dolly. After letting me play with it, she spelled the word doll into the palm of my hand. This is the palm of your hand. Okay? D-O-L-L. Can you feel the letters? D-O-L-L. I could feel them, but I didn't know what letters or words were, or how they worked. It didn't stop Miss Sullivan. One day we were arguing as she was trying to teach me the word mug and water. I got so upset I took my new doll and smashed it on the ground. I got angry a lot back then. It was so hard for me. I was frustrated. Why do you think she's frustrated? Think it in your head or turn and tell someone close to you now. Why do you think she's frustrated? Why do you think she's angry? Why does she get angry so much? Let's keep reading. Never losing her patience, my teacher took me outside. At a nearby spout, she put my hand under the running water. In my hand, she spelled the word W-A-T-E-R. W-A-T-E-R. Wait a second. I've seen this before, and I know this is really important. I saw this in the title page. Look. So this must be a really important part of the story. I better pay attention to this. I think that this is the heart of the story. Then she spelled it again. W-A-T-E-R. W-A-T-E-R. Look, she's getting so angry. And again, W-A-T-E-R. W-A-T-E-R. And again, W-A-T-E-R. W-A-T-E-R. And again, W-A-T-E-R. And again, W-A-T-E-R. W-A-T-E-R. She does it back to Anne Sullivan, to her teacher. She says the word back, spells it back. You understand, don't you? You understand, said Anne Sullivan. I understood. How exciting. So she understands her first word. Now she knows. Did your prediction come true? Did you get a big surprise? Let's read to find out what happens next. From there, I realized that everything had a name. Every object I touched seemed to burst with life. Mother, dog, table, lamp, father, sister, teacher. And now, when I wrote words in my teacher's hand, I had someone who could understand me. That's so nice. How do you think she's feeling now? Before we knew she was feeling frustrated, and we might have said why we thought that. How do you think she's feeling here and why? When you're learning something new, it's often hard. I started with words. My vocabulary grew fast. Eventually, I learned the meaning of the word love. I had given my teacher some flowers, so she spelled into my hand, I love Helen. Confused, I asked her, what is love? It is here, she spelled while tapping at my heart. I was still confused. It was hard to understand something I couldn't touch. So I'm going to ask you, what is love? Capture it in your head or turn and tell someone close to you. It made no sense. Why couldn't my teacher show me love? But then she explained, you can't touch the clouds, but you can feel rain and know how happy flowers are to get watered. That is how love is. You can't touch love. You can feel how happy it makes you. Do you agree with the way Anne Sullivan is describing love? I do. There, in that moment, my whole world changed. It was as if there were invisible lines that stretched out between me and everyone else in my life. Close your eyes. You can feel it too, your connection to your family and friends. Still, life was never easy. Without sight, I couldn't see people's faces. Without sound, I couldn't hear their voice. But one of my greatest breakthroughs came when I learned to do what you're doing right now, reading. Read without eyes? How's she gonna do that? You'll read with your fingers. On this cardboard, you'll feel raised dots. The dots make letters. The letters make words. This is the word for doll. Interesting. To practice, I'd match each word with its object and make sentences. This was my favorite game. We played it for hours. See if you can find the sentence, girl is in the wardrobe. Can you find that sentence? Girl is in the wardrobe. There it is. From there, I started reading real books, just like you. The only difference was my books were in Braille, which is a series of raised dots that you read with your fingers. Braille, a kind of writing blind people use. It uses raised dots that can be felt with the fingers. Go ahead and try. Move your pointer finger along the dots. So you don't have this book with you, but I can move my finger and feel the raised dots. It's pretty cool. At first, it just feels bumpy, right? You'll get used to it. These dots spell my name. Helen. Want to read your name in Braille? Here's the alphabet. Run your pointer finger over the letters. Now close your eyes. There you go. Now you're reading just like me. Now we can't do that. When we get back to school, we can try this. But for now, just take a peek at this alphabet, these series of dots, and they all are raised. You can use your fingertips to feel it. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to ask you again, did your prediction come true that you made before about how Helen would solve her problem? Or did you get a big surprise? Think about that now while I turn the page and keep reading. To make reading even more fun, my teacher took me outside. She knew I loved feeling the sun on my face and smelling the pine needles. I read my book so many times I wore down the raised dots. There were The Arabian Nights, Robinson Crusoe, and one of my favorites, Little Women. In those pages, I met brave boys and girls who could see and hear. I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ship. One of Miss Sullivan's best lessons came when she showed me how plants grow. Feel these buds? Some buds open fast, others open slow. A flower can only bloom if it's watered. Let's take this phrase. A flower can only bloom if it's watered. How does this phrase relate to Helen Keller? Let's pretend Helen Keller is a flower. And we know she's not. She's a little girl, right? But let's pretend like she's a flower. A flower can only bloom if it's watered. Who is doing the watering if Helen Keller is the flower? I think Her teacher, Anne Sullivan, is doing the watering. She's helping Helen Keller to bloom and to learn, just like a flower. Here in Keller's heart, how does Raven help Keller bloom? To answer that question, you can turn and tell someone close to you in your house. You can think about it in your head, or you can write a comment to me at the bottom of this video. Let's keep reading. When I was 9 years old, I wanted to learn how to speak. Even Miss Sullivan was worried about teaching me. She thought I'd get frustrated, angry. But nothing would stop me now. To help me, Miss Sullivan took me to a teacher named Sarah Fuller, who would put my hand on her face. She let me feel her tongue and lips as she made each sound. Yes, Helen, feel each sound, like the vibrating strings on a piano. In an hour, I learned the letters M, M, P, P, A, S, S, T, T, and I, Ma. She's speaking. So exciting. Now I could call my dog and she'd come to me. At my 7th lesson, I spoke this sentence. The one sentence that I'd repeat over and over. I am not dumb now. And look at her hug her dog. How do you think Helen feels here? Let's keep reading. As I got older, I didn't just learn to speak English. I learned French and German. Oh my gosh. For college, I wanted to go to Radcliffe at Harvard University. Maybe she should wait another year. Deaf and blind people don't go to college. I'm going. That's what she said. Look, she's got her Radcliffe hat on. I wouldn't argue. There's no stopping her, said Anne Sullivan. At Harvard, most of my books weren't available in Braille, so Miss Sullivan spelled out many of the textbooks in my hand. That's how much I loved learning, and that's how patient and selfless Miss Sullivan was. Amazing. Did you guys think Helen, after learning about her problem at the beginning of the book, did you guys think that Helen would learn how to read, write, and speak in 3 languages? I sure didn't. This is a big surprise, and it's way bigger than my prediction. Let's keep reading and see what else we learn. I became the first deaf and blind person to earn a college degree. I wouldn't be the last. As I grew older, I wrote 12 books and visited 34 countries. But the most important thing I did was to make sure that other people with disabilities could get the same education I had. We need to give every person an equal chance. My family had the money to hire a private teacher. Not everyone is that lucky. There she is. She sounds so strong. Today, thousands of deaf and blind students enroll in universities thanks to the work Helen did. Riding a horse? How does she do that? Look at this. Helen rides a horse. Crazy. So she's not only helping herself, she's taking her experience and she's helping other people, which is very similar to what Raven and Keller did towards the end of our book here. Right? They went to nursing homes and hospitals for big smiles. And she took him to the children's hospital to visit because she thought that if sick kids saw how well she and her puppy were doing, it would inspire them and show them that it's okay to be different. Isn't that very similar to what Helen Keller did? What a really great name for this dog. Let's keep reading. Let's finish up this story. That was only the beginning. Oh my gosh, there's more? I didn't just help deaf and blind people. I started fighting for social change to help women vote, to help the poor survive, and to help people who needed it most. She was one of the earliest supporters of the ACLU to fight for free speech. She was also one of the first supporters of the NAACP to help black people to get equal rights as well. She met every president from Grover Cleveland to Lyndon Johnson. But let's be honest, they met her. Look at all these presidents. Today, the American Foundation for the Blind and Helen Keller International continue to help the blind and hungry. She impacted so many lives with her journey. In my life, they said I was different. They said I'd never be normal. But the truth is, there's no such thing as a normal life. Every one of us is like a flower that must be watered. Every one of us is full of potential, and every one of us can overcome obstacles. Look at me. Hear my words. I may not be able to see, but I have vision. I may not be able to hear, but I have a voice. And look, here's a statue of Helen Keller with the water and the pump. Amazing. Think of your life as a hill that must be climbed. There's no correct path to get to the top. We all zigzag in our own ways. She's the first statue in the U.S. Capitol that's of a child. Wow. I really want to know, how'd you do all this stuff? I just decided I could. At some point you'll slip, you'll fall, you'll tumble back down again. But if you get back up and keep climbing, I promise you, you will reach the top. Don't let anything hold you back. Our lives are what we make of them. There will always be obstacles, but there will always be ways around them. I am Helen Keller, and I won't let anything stop me. Oh, and one last thing. Go say thank you to that teacher who helped you when you needed it most. Look, there's a picture of Helen Keller. And here's a quote from her. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched, but just felt in the heart. Here's another picture of Helen Keller at age 8 with Anne Sullivan. Here's Helen with her Boston Terrier, her dog, that she wanted to play with so bad. And look, here's Helen hearing Eleanor Roosevelt by touching her moving lips. Amazing. And down here we see a timeline of her life. A lot of nonfiction books and biographies will include a timeline of very important events of someone's life. You can read a timeline by looking at the particular date and then seeing what it says about the person. So let's go ahead and read this. June 27th, 1880, born in Alabama. February 1882, lost her ability to see and hear after illness. March 3rd, 1887, Anne Sullivan became Helen's teacher. April 5th, 1887, Helen signed her first word, water. 1889, began attending Perkins Institute for the Blind in Massachusetts. 1890, Sarah Fuller began teaching Helen to speak. 1903, published her first book, the autobiography, The Story of My Life. 1904, graduated from Radcliffe, the women's college at Harvard. 1924, began work with the American Foundation for the Blind. October 20th, 1936, Anne Sullivan died. September 1964, was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. June 1st, 1968, died in Easton, Connecticut. What an amazing story. What an amazing woman. What an amazing life. I'm so glad I got to share this story with you today. I have a couple of questions that you can answer in your notebook or you can answer in the comments below. You can answer me on Seesaw, on Google Classroom, or you can send me a talking points message. Or you can just talk about it with someone in your family. Remember, this is for fun. This isn't a homework assignment. This is just us getting together and reading. So the first thing you could do is tell me 3 facts about Helen's life. Did you like this story? Why or why not? What was your favorite part? How does this story inspire you or give you hope? Remember, hope is a good feeling about the future. What was the problem in this story? What problem did Helen Keller have? And what was the solution? How is Raven from Keller's Heart similar to Anne Sullivan, Helen Keller's teacher? Why do you think Raven named her new puppy Keller? How is Keller similar to Helen Keller, and how are they different? And then for a big challenge, what literary technique does the author use to show you what life was like for Helen Keller? And that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you are doing well. Please message me if you need anything or if you have any book requests. Okay, bye.